you guys hate due process so much? Why do you guys hate due process?
You guys have followed me for the past like 20 minutes.
Yeah, because I'm making sure that you stop trying to get people in gotcha moments. I'm sorry I'm ruining your footage, and I'm sorry that you can't take...
I can answer the question. We don't hate due process, but like according to like immigration laws, there's differences in due process, like whether it's a hearing, whether it is just reading your rights, whether it is they're not entitled. Not everybody. If they're
according to United States law, everybody is actually entitled to their day in court. That's actually a part of our Constitution. And further, when you want to talk about immigration, we created the process for people that are running from, why can't I think of the word? Begins with
refugees.
Not refugees. It's the other word.
He's actually a refugee into the USA also.
Okay, that's cool. So we actually have processes for that. And when people obey,
fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden.
Joe Biden the bitch.
Whoa.
So can I ask you, why is it okay? Can I ask you something?
I want to ask them why are you guys against Joe Biden?
They're just
he's a liberal. Liberal piece of shit.
Yeah.
Are you guys for Trump?
Yes.
Why?
Because that's my dog.
He's a good president, right?
Yes. Hey, give me some knuckles.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Fuck Joe Biden.
Thank
Fuck Kamala Harris too, that fucking skank. Peace out, guys.
Bye.
That's it.
Is that your representatives?
No.
Young kids.
But don't you guys think
in
like
a free country we are allowed to speak whatever they want? Okay.
Right. And in a free country, we also don't arrest people on the basis on false premises, right? Because we have already deported lawful American citizens. We have already admitted that we've made several mistakes.
Which American citizen has been deported?
So Garcia, for example, he was deported, right? He's the
Maryland man.
Yeah.
The Maryland man that's the El Salvadorian American man.
Yep.
So he's a U.S. citizen?
Yeah, the one that had the stop order back in 2019 for him going back to El Salvador because there was corroborated information that finds that his life is at risk back in that country because he is an asylum seeker.
But he had a deportation order also. The administration he had to stop deport to El Salvador, but he had a deportation order, right?
Where did we deport him to?
There was an administration error. I can admit that.
But time out. So you think that it's okay for us to be able to send people on an administrative error to an El Salvadorian prison?
He's not American though. He's not a U.S. citizen, right?
So Americans don't have human rights?
No, he's not an American.
But do Americans not have human rights?
Americans have U.S. rights.
Do non-Americans not have human rights?
This is according to the Constitution.
No?
But he's not.
He's not. Okay.
That's who he's running from.
So he was a good guy, right?
He was running from the Guatemalan gang, right? That's what the original stop order was from 2019. He was running from a Guatemalan gang that was no longer a threat in El Salvador.
But again, do people not have human rights? Just because somebody's not American, does that mean that we have the right to put them in an El Salvadorian prison?
I think if they're not American and living here illegally, they don't have the right to be here.
So you think... Again, so you believe, and I just want to make this clear, you believe that we should take people that have crossed the border illegally, legally or otherwise, even though he was going through a legal process, but we can ignore that and say they entered illegally. You think that gives the United States of America the right to do the exact same thing, by the way, that Nazi Germany was doing in the 1930s?
No, I think he should have had if there was a stop order from it, he should have had his hearing. But I do feel that as a non-U.S. citizen who is living here illegally, who beats his wife, who has domestic charges against him, he had one charge against him. And do you believe that means that he no longer has rights and should then be deported to an El Salvador prison? I don't think he has U.S. rights. No.
You don't know. It's not about U.S. rights. I said human rights. You notice human.
The right to live in another country is not a human right. It's a country right.
So if you believe that he could be deported or removed, that's one thing. There's a difference between being deported and removed and being put in an El Salvadorian prison that is known for its violence rate, its rape rate, and its death rate inside of. That's literally what the prison is known for.
let me ask you. One of the senators went to El Salvador and saw him, and I didn't see him in a prison. They've been drinking a margarita and stuff like that.
So that was actually found out, and the senator said in that meeting that the El Salvadorian, the guy running the prison. What's the word for the guy running the prison? He came out and he wanted to make it look like that they were treating him better than they were. That is the testimony of the entirety of the staff of the senator that was there. That's the testimony of the guy there. Do you believe, and I'm going to ask you this honestly, do you believe that in that El Salvadorian prison that they are serving the prisoners margaritas?
But he was outside.
They took him outside.
Yeah.
They took him outside of the prison, and they tried to put a margarita in front of him. Do you think that he's getting margaritas inside of the prison?
Do you think the
he's
American
getting
taxpayers,
margaritas
should pay for all the legal to legalize him here, or
To legal? So when you talk about taxpayer money, that's an interesting topic because it turns out that illegal immigrants actually pay more in taxes per capita than natural-born citizens. And the IRS has had this data for years. In fact, one of the things that the IRS is one of the things that they were having a fight about in the IRS today is the fact that the IRS is now being forced to hand over the information of illegal immigrants that have paid into taxes. So they pay into taxes and they get no services.
do you think that we should send somebody over there and pay for all the things what required to bring him here back?
Yeah, I do believe that it is our duty as a group that wronged a person. We caused a harm. We made the mistake. That is our duty to correct it. No.
Yeah, I believe if he was wrongly...
So we should fix it. It's our fault. We should do something about it, right?
Is the Democrats going to do something about it?
Well, listen, if you want to talk about the Democrats, no one here is sitting here saying the Democrats are angels. No one here is going to sit down and say that the Democrats are perfect. But what I am saying is they didn't do unconstitutional things and they didn't violate human rights on the scale that we're seeing in this administration. I want to ask again. It was something that you said something about people living here illegally. Why is that such a problem for you?
Well, my dad was a refugee coming into America, so and he left communism in Poland and everything. So my family has immigrated here. It takes years and years and years to go through the legal channels.
Which is a problem.
I agree with you there.
Which is a problem, correct? Like
yes.
The problem is that we already have racist laws when it comes to immigration in the first place that puts in artificial caps, all sorts of things, and our process for illegal immigration is one of the longest processes in the entire world.
We can definitely agree that our immigration programs, our systems is broken, and they need to come up with a new solution. So Trump's trying to secure the borders, and that's his approach with
here's
illegal
my question.
immigration.
What is the harm that they are causing? What is the harm? This is the problem with demonizing a group. You can say that there are problems with the administration or the ways that things are being correct. The system is broken. So then to assign villainy to a group of people, right? And this group of people benefit our economy. They take jobs that we don't take. Remember that when Trump took office, the unemployment rate was 2%. So it's not like they're taking our jobs. It's not like they're doing anything besides paying taxes into a system that they will never get benefits for. So paying for you guys, us not paying for them. They are taking jobs that would otherwise be defunct, which we're having issues with right now because of mass deportation. And at the end of the day, they have great culture, great food. By the way, other statistics that are fun. They commit crimes at a lower rate than natural-born citizens. They commit murder at a much lower rate than natural-born citizens. I don't see why it is that you have such a problem with them. Besides, and this is the thing, and I'm not trying to assign this label, but it comes off as incredibly racist.
I hear what you're saying, but I'll answer your question. So I spent several months documenting the immigration crisis in our southern borders over at Eagle Pass and also in Arizona and Yuma. And then so I would interview at the caravans. And so it was interesting because there are good people that are there, but then there are also nefarious characters there as well. And so in terms of like a vetting process for those who get in, that's why I'm for a secure border. And then also the cartels, they're able to create the other, like human smuggling. 1/3 of women who come through human smuggling are sexually abused. There's a lot of different problems that come from that.
How are we fixing that by demonizing a group of people that are doing nothing wrong? And then B, when you say, I want a better vetting process, well, currently in this country right now, we have never found anybody that has done any domestic terrorism as an illegal immigrant. Their rate of murder is lower. Their rate that they pay into taxes is higher. So again, when you're talking about vetting, sure, we could vet better, but the onus isn't really on the vetting when the outcomes are so low in the first place. Why does that bother you so much? Why does that bother you more than, say, dealing with issues that cause levels of murder? We have one of the highest rates of male suicide going on right now because of access to guns, right?
Yeah.
We have the highest rate of mass shootings in the Western world, right?
Yes.
We have the highest rate of, our rate of murder is 400 times higher than most Western countries. Why aren't we dealing with those issues if you care about outcomes? And instead, we focus on this group of people that are, and again, by and large, doing nothing but benefiting everybody around them.
Well, I mean, those are a lot of issues that all need to be dealt with. But when we specifically talk about illegal immigration and crimes that are committed, I mean, the rate should be zero, because if we had a secure border and we had a secure immigration process, then it would be zero.
Wait, time out. No, that's not true, because legal immigrants commit crimes. Legal immigrants that are vetted, that have no backgrounds, commit crime.
And they would be deported.
So it's an impossible standard to say that it will be zero. What the standard should be, it should be just like, again, why are this group of people being held to a standard up here when regular Americans are held to a standard down here? Why is it that we allow for violent murder, violent crime, all the things that we allow for in this country by not dealing with our education system, by not dealing with guns, by not dealing with the inequality? We know that the number one creator of crime is inequality. Why don't we deal with that, which again has much better outcomes? We will get a substantially larger deficit of things like murder, things like people evading their taxes, things like starvation. Why aren't we focusing on that? And why are you villainizing this group of people? And I would like to note that how is this any different than when Germany had all of the exact same problems that the United States has, that they focused on the Jewish population instead of dealing with their issues? And sending, by the way, the first Jewish citizens that were put in camps in Poland, not in Germany. How does that not bother you? And why is it that you are okay with those parallels?
Do you think that more Polish people was put to death than Jewish people?
Huh?
More Polish people was put to death in a concentration camp than Jewish people?
There were tons of different groups. One of the things that is often mischaracterized about the Holocaust is how widespread it was, right? So we didn't just have Jewish victims. We had Polish victims that they said were communists, LGBTQ. That was the first books they burned and banned, by the way, kind of like another group we're talking about. There were the Romani, that are, the slur for them, the slur that's used for them. All of those people were murdered in the Holocaust too. So no, I don't think that the Holocaust was singular one group of people, but I do think that one group of people was used in the body politic of Germany in order to obfuscate and ignore the greater problems that were happening in Germany, much like the president is today. And my question for you is, why are you okay with that?
No, we're not okay with anything what is wrong, okay? And let me ask you, because we're working also on retirees problems.
Are you good? Do you need saving?
No.
Okay, you're doing a really good job. I heard you.
No.
Yeah.
Excellent. But
This is so they don't clip up other people.
okay.
No, you're also very knowledgeable. So this is
knowledgeable.
You're super knowledgeable.
You get in a spot and you're like, I wish someone would save me.
Oh, no, I'm okay.
I was also going to ask you. We have a podcast and we invite everyone from different perspectives. And this is a good longer conversation that we can have ongoing and everything.
But I am asking you pretty directly. Isn't it a little abhorrent that we we are attacking this minority group of people that do nothing but benefit us as a society, benefit us as a group, simply because of broken systems that we created. They didn't create our immigration system, we did. So why is it their fault? Why should they suffer at the hands of it? When the reality is they just want a part of the American dream and to make your lives better. Why is it okay that we go after them like this?
I don't think it's right to be demonizing any particular group. Like our firm stance is about border security, and with illegal, like even when they go to sanctuary cities, it causes a problem for like people are when you're an undocumented or illegal person, like you are not able to go like. If you're the victim of an assault,
Correct.
you can't go and get help. Like
Correct.
like
We should have systems.
this
You
whole
would be
flood of
so you'd
problems
be okay
that
with
come with
mass
that.
amnesty.
You know what? That I believe it was Reagan that tried that, and he gave mass amnesty to like 10 million illegal immigrants at the time, hoping to wipe the slate from there. But then so that was the goal to end like the
Reagan
illegal.
did not give mass amnesty.
Okay, maybe it was
I
Carter.
believe that
But one of
anybody
the
who is
presidents,
in
it was
this
like in
country-
the 80s, gave mass amnesty to like 10 million illegal living here and everything in order to like that was his solution of the immigration crisis. But then from that good intention spurred another like flood and mass illegal immigration to it.
Right,
So that
right.
wasn't a good solution to it. I believe in the dreamers.
Because the amnesty without fixing the situation
Yes.
will cause more of the problem.
Yes.
Why don't we just let them in?
There should be like the dreamers, for instance, like children who are brought here illegally. It wasn't by their choice or anything, and now their whole lives have been here in the U.S. There should be pathways to citizenship.
But forget, there should be pathways to citizenship. So why deport them? Why not just give them pathways to citizenship?
No, I believe that anybody who is in this country minimum 10 years, they leave the border outside, and
So
after
then-
10 years,
Uh-huh.
okay, they should be eligible to be a resident.
That is far better. I would go much further, but at least with that, I could take a standard. But here's the thing. Then you must be against Garcia. He was here for more than 10 years. How many people have we been deported that have been here for more than 10 years? What about those kids that had cancer? Like, again, you want to bring up issues of border security. When I talk about, I think that that's a false framing. What do we need to be secure from? What are we afraid of at the border? We know, by the way, that illegal drugs don't pass through the country in illegal pathways. They mainly pass through legal ports of entry. And they're mainly delivered here. And this is, again, when we want to talk about demonizing a group and we bring up the cartels, the vast majority of the people that smuggle in drugs into this country are United States citizens. The vast majority of the people that the cartel hires to smuggle illegal drugs into this country are United States citizens. There is no benefit for them to send it with an illegal person, because as soon as that illegal person is caught, they're deported and sent back here. That means that they don't have chance for those drugs to enter in the country, versus if you do it at a legal port of entry, which they do en masse, which every study has found. So again, what do we need to be secure from if all of these threats? And that's one of the biggest points. Why do we buy to the idea that these things are threats in the first place?
Well, we can continue.
Can I
this,
ask you an analogy? If somebody were to
illegal,
steal
but
a car,
let me ask you.
1 second.
That-
I'll answer yours in just one moment.
Do you think there is another problems, like maybe retirees have problems? Because that's what we're doing, working on a
Anti-what problems?
retirees. When you retire, let's say for 30 years you working here hard, okay, and then when you retire, you worry that your money will run away, okay, or you don't have a comfortable life.
That's what Social Security is for.
Right, but sometimes it's not enough, especially when the housing is so expensive.
Oh yeah,
right?
we have a housing
And-
crisis,
and-
absolutely.
And another thing, a homeless problem in America is the biggest. This is the richest country, okay, and homelessness is the biggest problem in America.
You are correct. So those issues of both the idea that the living wage, the amount that you get out of Social Security, isn't enough to maintain yourself, is a travesty. Social Security has been one of largely the most successful government program in history, taking, I believe it was about 30% out of the elderly out of poverty. So you are correct when we say that our elderly should have a chance to die in dignity. They should be able to live at the end of their lives, especially after giving so much for their entire lives. But you hit on a problem. The housing crisis is a problem. The housing crisis largely being a function of non-regulation in the market. Things like housing developers continuously building these urban sprawls that create inefficient tax bases that make cities go bankrupt. Not only that, once there's urban sprawl there, we don't build dense enough to actually maintain lower housing prices and the rental rate. You're sitting in Orlando, Florida. Orlando, Florida is the second highest most unaffordable place in the country right now. The only place more unaffordable is Miami-Dade. The reason that's happening is right now 33 out of 100 families that make 30% of the area median income don't have access to affordable housing. Why? Because we have not increased the housing supply significantly since 2010. That's the problem. Build more houses. But I'm going to tell you something, and it's going to make you sad. Building more houses is going to make a lot of people more poor because they thrive off that increase in value that they get by the false scarcity created by not building more houses. So it requires government intervention. Are you for government intervention?
But you have to answer to me because I'm not that knowledgeable like you. You are a very smart guy, you know. I'm young
I appreciate
guy,
that.
you know, and I've been in this country for 55 years. I left Poland when I was only 20 years, okay? And I worked hard here. I retired from United Airlines.
And you deserve dignity.
Right. Well, I cannot complain, but I see a lot of people in the richest country that the retirees have a problem and homeless problems.
And you know what's sad about that? And I'll bring it to a point here, then I'll answer your question, which is Finland has figured out homelessness. They have a homelessness rate of 0.001. Japan has figured out homelessness. Austria has largely figured out homelessness. Norway has largely figured out homelessness. There are cities in Canada right now that are solving their homelessness problem. So the fact that we don't take that as a priority here, or we look at the solutions that exist around the world, is some reason why you need to look above. And again, as much as I demonize the Republicans, who are the worst? Who are the worst? I do not want to equivocate. Naked evil is always worse than the evil that the other groups are doing because they have naked racism and bigotry. But the Democrats are not innocent in this. Obama's bailout was the largest growth in inequality in this country until Donald Trump. So this issue doesn't know a party, okay? But again, all of that does not make it okay to demonize a group of people who do nothing but benefit society, pay into your taxes, do jobs that you don't want to do, commit less murder, everything that you would like. All of that is not a good reason to blame the most vulnerable among us.
So do you think that politicians only take care of themselves, not about the
Absolutely.
people?
The political class in this country is something that we call neoliberalism that started around the 1970s and 80s, and they absolutely only look out for themselves. If they cared about that, they would ban campaign contributions from corporations. They would ban lobbyists. They would shorten, much like many countries around the world, campaigns to just 2 or 3 months out of the year instead of these multi-year, multi-billion dollar. Did you know in this country we spent I think it was 14 billion by the Republicans, like 12 billions by the Democrats, and most of that billion, by the way, was Elon Musk aiding out the Republicans. Without him, he drops below the Democrats. I'll be clear.
Carry the message to the media, to the politicians. I'm Democrat, she's Democrat, and we support Donald Trump.
His first
Because
time
we
Republican.
know he was elected by more people, and we have to respect that. Okay.
That doesn't-
But I don't believe that any politician, you know, they care about the normal people here. Okay.
Obviously. Well, I mean, I think that there are a few that are more amenable to normal people, but greatly, you'll notice that the Democratic Party actually pushes those people out as well. So it's not like I'm sitting here saying, but I'm saying, how can we support, like you're wearing a Make America Great Again hat?
That's what we want to do. Make America great. If the Democrats will come and say, make America great again, we can support that.
But the problem is that language, the language that it was made around when we say make America great again. When was America great? Because when I last checked, the people that looked like me were getting slaughtered by the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands at all points of time in this country. When was America great? Was it when we were bombing black? Was it when we were bombing black neighborhoods? Was it when we were testing? When we were infecting black people with the Tuskegee experiment? When we were infecting them with syphilis? Was it when we were stealing children in the 80s? When Ronald Reagan's wife was part of that thing where they were trying to normalize Native American children by stealing them from their families from reservations? Was it during the 90s when the CIA was giving crack to black Americans in order to fund toppling countries around the world? When was America great?
We try to, in our minds, okay, make America great again. Like I said, see, the Democrats coming with this logo, make America great again, we support. Okay? So we have to
wrap this up, but I have a final question for you.
Yeah.
What direction do you want America to go in?
The direction that I hope that Americans go in is we need to look at each other and realize for the longest period of this time, the body politic has done everything that they can to separate us by race, by gender, by citizenship. They're trying to separate us so that we don't notice the obvious, which is since the 1970s, corporate profits and productivity has increased 400%, and yet our wages have only increased a mere 60 to 80%. This is the great distraction. Large companies and the body politic want you to ignore that we are bots, that we exist as an oligarchy, and that we need to come together as a grassroots from the bottom up, mutual aid, work with each other, work with your neighbor, and create structures parallel to government, because government will never take care of us. Government is not taking care of us, so we need to create structures parallel to government. Feed your neighbor, help them with rent, take them in, hide somebody that's running from fascism. Do something to help the people around you, because it's obvious that we're not going to get saved from above.